The sound came first, a high-pitched whine that nobody else seemed to notice. But for Michael Reeves, it was like a scream cutting through the din of the massive aircraft hangar. He knew that sound shouldn't be there. 60 seconds later, the multi-million-dollar prototype jet engine that had passed every expert inspection exploded during its final test, sending engineers diving for cover and executives reaching for their phones. Nobody died that day, but careers and reputations did. Nobody, that is, except Michael's, the maintenance worker and single dad who tried to warn them all. If you've ever felt overlooked or underestimated, this story will resonate with your soul. Hit that like button and subscribe to hear more incredible true stories of ordinary people accomplishing extraordinary things against all odds. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. Michael Reeves rubbed his calloused hands together in the December chill as he waited at the school gate. His faded blue maintenance uniform still smelled of machine oil, but he hadn't had time to change after his shift. His 8-year-old daughter Emma bounced out of the building, her bright red backpack almost as big as she was. "Daddy! Did you bring earplugs today?" she asked, reaching for his hand. Michael smiled and pulled a small plastic case from his pocket. "Never forget them, sweetheart." "Not since last time." Emma had inherited his sensitive hearing, both blessing and curse in a world that never seemed to quiet down. For Michael, that sensitivity had made him excellent at his job maintaining equipment at Westridge Aviation, even if it meant he could never quite relax in the constant mechanical symphony of modern life. "How was the big engine today?" Emma asked as they walked to their apartment 3 blocks away. "Still not right," Michael sighed. "But nobody wants to listen to the cleaning guy." The Westridge J-80 was supposed to be revolutionary, a jet engine that promised 20% greater fuel efficiency while reducing noise pollution. After 5 years of development and nearly $1 billion invested, it was weeks away from final certification. The problem was, every time Michael cleaned around it during his evening shift, something felt wrong. Not visibly wrong, the engineering team had checked and double-checked every component. But wrong in a way that vibrated through his bones. Their apartment was small but warm. Pictures of Michael's late wife Sarah covered one wall, Emma with her mother's smile and curious eyes. Sarah had been gone 3 years now, cancer taking her quickly and leaving Michael to navigate parenthood alone while working whatever jobs his high school education could secure. That evening, as Michael helped Emma with her science homework, his phone buzzed. "Reeves, we need you to come in early tomorrow. The certification team is doing a full inspection before Friday's demonstration," his supervisor barked before hanging up. Michael sighed. More overtime meant money they needed but less time with Emma. Their elderly neighbor Mrs. Patel would watch her, but it wasn't the same. "Is it the sick engine?" Emma asked, looking up from her notebook where she'd been drawing sound waves. "Yeah, sweetheart. They're still trying to make it better." Emma tilted her head, something she did when thinking deeply. "Maybe it has a tummy ache, like when I eat too much ice cream." Michael laughed, but then paused. The way Emma described problems often made him see things differently. Her innocent perspective sometimes cut through complexity to find simple truths. "What makes you think it's its tummy?" "Because you said it rumbles funny." Not the big loud part, but the quiet part underneath. The next morning found Michael at Westridge Aviation at 5 a.m., carefully cleaning around the J-80 prototype while a team of engineers huddled nearby, reviewing data and arguing quietly. Dr. Eleanor Chen, the project lead, noticed Michael and frowned. "Mr. Reeves, please be careful around the intake assembly. We've adjusted the fan blades yesterday." Michael nodded respectfully. Dr. Chen was brilliant, MIT educated with 20 patents to her name, but she treated the maintenance staff like potential hazards rather than colleagues. "Dr. Chen," Michael ventured, "I've been meaning to mention something about the engine." She glanced at her watch. "What is it?" "We have the certification team arriving in an hour. There's a sound it makes during the spin-up sequence. Like a delayed resonance that Mr. Reeves, she interrupted, we have acoustic engineers with PhDs who have analyzed every frequency this engine produces. I appreciate your diligence, but we're on a tight schedule. She turned away before seeing the frustration on Michael's face. He continued cleaning, that familiar feeling of invisibility settling over him like a shroud. Later that morning, as the certification team conducted their inspections, Michael overheard snippets of conversation. Harmonics all within expected parameters. Material fatigue tests exceptional. Computational fluid dynamics models confirm. Words that sounded impressive but couldn't capture what Michael felt every time the engine spun up. That subtle wrongness that reminded him of the washing machine that exploded in their apartment last year, right after it started making a sound only he and Emma could hear. During his lunch break, Michael sat alone in the staff room, scrolling through his phone. An article about resonance caught his eye, something about how certain frequencies could cause catastrophic failures in structures. He thought about Emma's homework on sound waves and began to wonder. His afternoon shift was interrupted when Richard Harmon, the company's CEO, arrived with potential investors. The hangar was cleared of non-essential personnel, but Michael was allowed to stay to keep the floors clean during the demonstration. He stood in the corner as Dr. Chen proudly presented the J-80. This engine represents the future of aviation. More efficient, quieter, and with maintenance intervals that will revolutionize airline operations. The investors nodded appreciatively as technicians prepared for a controlled test fire. Michael noticed one of the younger engineers, Zoe Williams, standing slightly apart from the others, her face tense. As the engine began its spin-up sequence, Michael felt it immediately, that wrongness, stronger now. He looked around, but everyone was focused on the impressive display of technology. Only Zoe seemed concerned, checking readings on her tablet with growing alarm. The distinctive whine grew louder, and Michael couldn't stay silent. He approached Dr. Chen, who was explaining the noise reduction features to the investors. Dr. Chen, something's wrong, he said urgently. The harmonics are feeding back into the... Mr. Reeves, she hissed. This is highly inappropriate. But listen to it. That's a harmonic resonance building in the compressor section. Richard Harmon stepped forward, his face flushed with anger. Who is this man? Maintenance staff, Dr. Chen said dismissively. Mr. Reeves, you need to leave immediately. As security approached to escort him out, Michael locked eyes with Zoe, who was now frantically typing on her tablet. Secondary harmonic patterns abnormal, he heard her say to another engineer who waved her off. Michael was at the hangar door when he heard it, that high-pitched whine shifting into something dangerous. He turned back just as Zoe shouted, "Shut it down." Too late. The catastrophic failure began at the compressor blades, precisely where Michael had sensed the problem. Metal shrieked against metal as the precision-engineered components tore themselves apart from the inside. Emergency systems engaged, but not before pieces of titanium alloy became deadly projectiles. The investors dove under tables. Dr. Chen stood frozen in shock. And Michael did what came instinctively, he ran toward the danger, pulling a stunned technician out of the path of flying debris. In the aftermath, as emergency services arrived and the acrid smell of burnt metal filled the air, Michael sat on a bench outside, his hands shaking. Zoe Williams approached, her lab coat covered in dust. "You knew," she said, sitting beside him. "How did you know?" Michael shrugged. "I just heard it. My daughter and I, we both have sensitive hearing. Some sounds just feel wrong. I saw the anomalies in the data," she admitted. "But everyone kept saying the models showed it was impossible. That the harmonics couldn't build up that way. Some things you can't just put in a computer," Michael said quietly. The next week was chaos. The J-80 project was suspended pending investigation. Michael expected to be fired for insubordination but was surprised when he was instead asked to attend a meeting with Richard Harmon and the executive team. He had to bring Emma with him. Mrs. Patel was visiting her daughter, and he couldn't afford a sitter on such short notice. They sat nervously in the plush waiting room of the executive floor, a place Michael had only cleaned, never been invited to. "Daddy, are you in trouble?" Emma whispered, clutching her notebook of sound wave drawings. "I don't know, sweetheart," he answered honestly. "But we always tell the truth, even when it's hard, right?" She nodded solemnly as the assistant called them in. The boardroom was intimidating, all glass and chrome with views of the airfield. Richard Harmon sat at the head of the table with Dr. Chen and several executives Michael didn't recognize. Zoe Williams sat slightly apart, still looking like she didn't belong. "Mr. Reeves," Harmon began, "thank you for coming." "And who is this young lady?" "My daughter, Emma." "I'm sorry, I couldn't find childcare." "That's perfectly fine," Harmon said, his tone surprisingly gentle. "Emma, would you like some hot chocolate while we talk with your dad?" After Emma was settled with a steaming mug in her notebook, Harmon turned serious. "Mr. Reeves, the preliminary investigation suggests that the J-80 failed due to exactly what you tried to warn us about, a cascading harmonic resonance that our models failed to predict." "Dr. Chen?" Eleanor Chen looked humbled, her usual confidence replaced by professional regret. "The computational models were built on assumptions that proved incorrect. We programmed out certain frequency patterns because they were theoretically impossible according to our understanding of the materials." "But they weren't impossible," Michael said quietly. "No," she admitted. "They weren't." Ms. Williams detected the anomalies in her tests, but her concerns were overlooked because they contradicted the established models. Zoe gave Michael a small smile of solidarity. Richard Harmon leaned forward. "Mr. Reeves, you have no engineering background, correct? Just a high school diploma?" "Yes, sir." "Yet you identified a fatal flaw that a team of PhDs missed. How?" Michael glanced at Emma, who was drawing intently in her notebook. "My daughter and I, we both have unusually sensitive hearing. It's called hyperacusis. After my wife died, I started paying more attention to Emma's complaints about certain sounds. We'd make games of it, identifying what made different machines sound sick, as she called it. Like the washing machine." Emma piped up. Michael smiled. "Yes, like our washing machine that broke last year. We heard it going wrong weeks before it failed." "And the engine sounded sick to you?" Harmon asked. Michael nodded. "The primary resonance was normal, but there was a secondary pattern underneath, like an echo that kept building on itself instead of fading. I tried to explain it several times, but nobody listens to the maintenance guy," Harmon finished, looking genuinely regretful. "That's going to change." He slid a folder across the table. Michael opened it cautiously and stared at the contents in disbelief. "This is... I don't understand." "It's a job offer, Mr. Reeves. We're creating a new position, harmonic resonance specialist. With training, we believe your natural abilities could be developed into an invaluable quality control asset. The salary is triple your current one, with flexible hours to accommodate your daughter's schedule." Michael's hands trembled. "I don't have the qualifications." "You have the most important qualification," Dr. Chen interrupted. "You can perceive what our instruments and models miss. Ms. Williams will help develop new sensors based on your observations, and together you'll help redesign the J-80 testing protocols. And," Harmon added, "we'd like to offer Emma a place in our STEM scholarship program when she's ready for college. Her drawings of sound waves are quite remarkable for an 8-year-old. Emma beamed, chocolate mustache on her lip. "I told Daddy the engine had a tummy ache." The room broke into surprised laughter, tension dissolving. "Out of the mouths of babes," Harmon said, smiling. "Sometimes the most complex problems need the simplest perspectives." 6 months later, Michael stood in the same hangar, now wearing a lab coat with "Harmonic Resonance Specialist" embroidered on the pocket. Beside him, Emma watched in special hearing protection headphones as the redesigned J-80 engine spun up for its test. Dr. Chen and Zoe Williams stood nearby, monitoring instruments that had been redesigned based on Michael's input. The engine sound was different now, cleaner, with none of the dangerous undercurrents that had troubled him before. "What do you think, Emma?" Michael asked when the test concluded successfully. She gave an enthusiastic thumbs up. "Its tummy feels much better now." Later that day, as they walked home, to their new apartment closer to both the school and Westridge, Emma skipped alongside him. "Daddy, do you think Mommy would be proud of us?" Michael felt his throat tighten. "I know she would, sweetheart. She always said your special ears were a gift." "They were our superpower all along," Emma said with the simple wisdom of childhood. "We just had to find the right bad guys to fight." Michael laughed, lifting her onto his shoulders as they walked. Sometimes life's most difficult journeys led to unexpected destinations. He had started as an invisible man, cleaning floors while worried about making rent. Now he was helping redesign the future of aviation. All because he and his daughter had learned to listen to what others couldn't hear, both in engines and in life. As the final test of the redesigned J-80 succeeded and certification was granted, Westridge Aviation held a press conference. Richard Harmon surprised everyone by inviting Michael and Emma to stand with the executive team. "The J-80 project taught us a valuable lesson," Harmon told the assembled press. "Sometimes the most sophisticated instruments and advanced degrees can't replace human intuition and natural ability." Michael Reeves heard what all our experts missed, and in doing so, not only prevented potential tragedy but helped us create a better product. Later, Michael found himself featured in industry magazines and invited to speak at engineering conferences about his unique approach to mechanical diagnostics. The single dad who once couldn't get engineers to listen to him was now teaching them how to hear. The most meaningful moment came when Emma's class invited him for career day. Standing before a room of wide-eyed children, he shared his story. "Sometimes what makes you different, what others might see as strange or not important, might be your greatest strength," he told them. "My daughter and I hear things differently than most people. For years, I thought it was just something to cope with. Now I know it was actually a gift waiting for the right moment to be useful." Emma beamed from the front row, pride shining in eyes so like her mother's. That evening, as they sat on the balcony of their new apartment watching planes take off in the distance, some now powered by engines Michael had helped perfect, Emma leaned against his shoulder. "Do you think there are other people with special powers who just don't know it yet?" she asked. Michael kissed the top of her head. "I'm absolutely certain of it, sweetheart. The world is full of people with unique gifts. The trick is learning to listen to them." In a world obsessed with credentials and conventional expertise, sometimes the most important breakthroughs come from unexpected sources, like a maintenance worker with sensitive ears and the wisdom to listen to his 8-year-old daughter. All it takes is one person willing to hear what everyone else has missed. If this story touched you, remember that everyone you meet might have some special insight or ability that could change everything, if only given the chance to be heard. Like and subscribe for more stories about ordinary heroes making extraordinary differences in our world. Sometimes the most important sound is the one nobody else notices, until it changes everything.